Please welcome Amos Hurst.
Nice to be here too, yeah. So I've got both blood and prostate cancer. Then they said, Mr. Hurst, I don't think you will make it. It mentally hit me because I didn't know whether I'm going to die, whether I'm going to live. Sometimes I go in my room and I cry. And my pay is not money. It's the satisfaction I get. If I do something for you, I get the satisfaction and it even makes me sleep better. I've been to so many dangerous places in my life. I mean, dangerous myself, mentally, physically, everything. And if I can help someone, I will.
Amos, you've got me in tears here. Welcome to the Dadvengers podcast, sponsored by Tonka, because being tough is all about getting out and playing. I'm Nigel Clark, TV presenter and performer, and I'm also host of this wonderful podcast where we explore different aspects of parenting and hone in on the dad point of view. And mums, grandparents, carers, we want you involved in the conversation too. So let's talk, let's laugh, let's share the things we find difficult and become the type of dads we really want to be. Welcome to another episode of the Dadvengers podcast. I'm really excited about today's guest. He was born in Jamaica as one of 10 siblings. He has 7 of his own children, so he's got something to say on the dad front. And he's also a cancer survivor. Please welcome Amos Hurst. Amos, it's so lovely to have you here.
Yeah, it's nice to be here too, yeah.
You are probably the wisest Dadvenger we've ever had on the podcast, being 85 years old.
Is it so? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And we're really excited to chat to you about all that you've been through. So you were one of 10 children. What was that like, growing up with 9 siblings?
Oh, that was great. It was in Jamaica. That's great because my dad run a farm, had a small farm, and most of the boys go to the farm and do work. So it was quite great. It was great.
You say that you did work. Was it a hard upbringing? Were your parents pretty strict?
They were very strict. Very, very strict, because 10 of us live in a village. The village must be having about 100 and just over 100 people or whatever. Yeah. And not one of us ever get ourselves in trouble.
Wow, that's good.
We couldn't anyway, unless we want our backs smacked.
Old school ways. That was the way. I got smacked when I was little, and that was the way my parents were. My parents are from Guyana.
Yeah.
So I've got Guyanese heritage, and yeah, they were brought up in a strict regime. I think a bit like yourself as well. Was your dad the authoritative person? Was he like the leader of the family, and it's my way or the highway, or was he more of a softer dad?
Well, I must say my dad and my mom was almost the same. They were icon in the village, and because they do things for people, it must be just as what I done. So to do things for people now more than I done for myself. But my dad was my dad was the mostly boss with his children, because he bossed us. He was very, 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 very serious with us to keep us out of trouble. And so, but my mom, she could hold her own, and she could do. I mean, my dad couldn't sort of manipulate her or anything like that.
She stood up for herself.
Oh, she stood up for herself. Although my dad was the worker, because she had 10 children. Of 10 children, she's the work harder than my dad. But my dad was the sort of a person who was the breadwinner, we used to call it. Yeah.
So did your parents then, because you had so many siblings, instill a work ethic in you?
Oh yes, definitely. What they used to do, what my dad used to do, every weekend we get some pocket money. Although it's a small in Jamaica, but if you don't work and do the work that you're supposed to do around the house or field, then you get nothing.
Oh,
So
wow.
you couldn't have money to spend. You got to work for it. You see, and that's what happened to. That's how we grow up. Or 10 of us grow up. Yeah.
And of the 10 of you, did you all stay down the straight and narrow, or did you have anyone veer off the good road?
Well, none of us, not one of us, ever been in any trouble at all. That's unique, really.
I was going to say, that's a testament to your mum and dad.
Yeah. Well, I was the toughest one in it. I would gone to play cricket. I would gone to, instead of getting the animal, the pigs or the goat or the mule we had, instead of looking for them, I would gone play marble on the street and play cricket with the boys. Them would go swimming in the river. So I'm the hardest one, and that must be something, because if I'm the rest was really softer than I was.
Wow. So what made you emigrate?
Well, it's a long story, because when I finished school, my dad asked me what I want to do, and there was a American lady living there who was the boss for a church. They call it the Friends Church, and she was in touch with a sugar factory they call Grazing that makes sugar and rum, and they asked me if I want to be a mechanic, and then I said yes, and she took me down and interviewed me, and they take me in as an apprentice mechanical engineer in the sugar factory as apprentice.
So you started off as a mechanical engineer in Jamaica.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then how did that lead to you then coming to the UK?
Well, the thing is, the sugar factory did one by English.
Ah.
And then they picked out some of us to send to England to sort of develop on the trade. And I think it was 8 or 7 of us. I can't remember. I think it's about 7, because that's 60 years ago. And we came up. But the only reason you could get to come up, we we have got to get someone here to steer it. You see,
wow.
they will pay everything, but they have to get someone to steer it. And then I came up. I had 2 sisters up here, and I came up.
So you already had 2 sisters in the UK?
Sisters, yes, in the UK. Mm.
So did that make it easier for you to move because you knew you were going to have family and help here?
Yes, that's right. So I came up. I came up, and when I come up, I almost finished my course, and my sister asked me if I want to go back. I've got a job, so they gave me a job, and I never go back.
So what age were you when you came over to the UK?
I'm in my 20s.
In your 20s. Now,
Yes.
I know from knowing a little bit about you, by the time you were 20, you were already a father, right?
Yes. Well, you know. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, with that, did you travel with your first child or not?
No, I traveled. I traveled when I got up and I got to England, got myself a job, and then I sent for them and their mother.
Wow. So that would have been difficult. Now let's talk about that a little bit. How was it for you? Did you say you had 2 children at that point?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How was it for you leaving your 2 children in another country, knowing that you're not going to be seeing them regularly? We live in an age now where you can video call like we are now. But
yes.
in those days, you couldn't do that. So, and a long distance call was a difficult thing. How was that?
It was difficult. I didn't get the chance to take the telephone and use it. The only correspondent we had was to write letters, and it take a time to go. Only letters, no talk to them, no nothing.
Wow. That must be, for you, it must have been so hard.
It was difficult. It was difficult, but the only good thing there, because when I came up, my mother, my great grandma was there, and my grandma was there. So we have many people there to look after the children. So when I send a letter, it's almost 4 letters, because I send it and write bits in there for my great grandma and bits for my grandma and my mom.
Yeah, when you grew up, and where you grew up, there's a different sense of community when raising your children that I think in this day and age has been a little bit lost. Would you agree?
Those days was all right, because the community was a community. Because if I go on the street and sort of have done anything wrong, someone can tell us off or even smack us. And we dare not tell our parents, because we'll get a double. But that's
You-
the community was those days, you see.
Yeah, you get a double helping of smacks. Wow. So, okay, you've moved to the UK, you've got 2 children back home in Jamaica, and you're making a career for yourself in the UK. What was your driving thought at that time? Because you said you didn't go back, and you didn't want to go back. You got offered to go back. So what was in your head at that time? You thought you could make a better life for your family?
Well, I thought I would make a better life for my family. My intention was to work and get some work, and then 30 years, 4, 5, 6 years, I go back to Jamaica to live. But it wasn't there, because you didn't get the money that you could support them, or you couldn't get the money, so you gradually stay. You just decided to stay, and
Right.
that,
So the original plan was to go back, but that
oh
changed
yes,
after you realized you hadn't made enough, or you hadn't
yeah,
made your life as good as you wanted to make it. So then you sent for your family to come to the UK.
yeah, and not only that, but I fall in love with the country. That's one of
Ah,
that's one of the things. I fall in love with the country,
okay.
and I decided that I'm going to stay. Yeah.
Wow. So you fell in love with the country and you thought, right, this is where I want to bring my children up.
Yes, you are right, 100% right there. Yeah.
What were the opportunities that you could see for your children here in the UK?
Well, in those days, I didn't see any great opportunity. I didn't look into that. The opportunity that I see, that I would want to see them here with me. And I never sort of have that long forward thinking. I just feel like I want them with me, and I have to get them to come up with me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So they came and arrived, and you started your life here, and then you had more children.
Yes, well, we people fall out of love sometime, and I fall out of love. So I am find someone. I have 2 children, I have more children, and that's how it
So
goes.
so at that point you had 4 children,
Mhm.
and you had to be that father figure. Would you say you were a strict parent? What kind of parent were you to your
Oh,
young kids?
well, I can say that for myself, but I can't say it for my children. So they might say that I'm a hard, especially 2. I just have to concentrate, and especially 2. These 2 daughters here, one around me now. I We support each other's, and all of us each other's.
So, just so I get an idea of who's here in the UK, how many children have you got in the UK right now?
3.
3.
Mm.
So you've got Sophia, who we're going to meet later,
Yeah.
and
Sophie and Naomi, her sister, and a son. Yeah.
nice.
Mm.
And I will be asking Sophia later if you were a strict parent, but you didn't think you were very strict.
Yes, I was partly strict. But what I don't smack them if they've done anything wrong. Sophia might be able to tell you, Sophia. I give them the poison look. Poison. And once I give them the poison look, it's a big change. Yeah.
The poison look. I'm loving the poison look. I think the poison look is something that many parents need to learn how to give.
Yes. I gave them the poison look, and they know my poison look is very serious, because if they want something, I'm not going to give them the poison look.
What made you, okay, because you were smacked as a child.
Oh, very much. Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to not smack and to go down the poison look route? Because from your generation, a lot of people still smacked.
Yeah. Oh, yes. From when in the 60s coming up and all that, you sometimes go in England, because I'm in here since 1961, and sometimes you hear children crying next door because the parents smacked them. And since the law changed, but that wasn't I don't know why. I can't tell you why, but that's not in my mind. Perhaps I love them too much. I don't know.
You love them too much. That's a beautiful thing to hear from a father. A really, really beautiful thing to hear from a father.
Because the thing is, it's if you're going, I don't depend on myself to take care of myself mentally alone, because of your family, and that the help, I use that help to sort of help me to sort of survive.
So for you, they were part of your children, helped with your mental health and your standing in the world and who you thought you were.
Yes, they helped me. That's the help, the big help. Yes.
Wow, that's incredible.
I help them, and I get the help from them. So that's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to see it. Now, there's something I want to touch upon. You fell in love with this country, and you're a black man in a country that was predominantly white and had exhibited racism. How was that for you, bringing up children in a country that was racist?
Yes. Oh, I did look on things those days. Is people. I've got 2 or 3 racial things happen to me. If you want me to say it, I will.
Yes, please tell us.
Well, the first say couple of months when I started a job in 1961, I went to the place. Those days you have to push cards in, you know, to get your card in the machine when you go to work and home.
Punch in, punch out the cards.
Yeah, punch cards. So I went one day, I got a job, and about 4 days after, I was punching my card, and there's this white guy behind me, and he said, I'll have to go back. He'll have to come first. So,
okay.
Well, I wasn't happy with it.
You wouldn't be.
But I still let him go through because I was not at the job. So the following day I went back to work. The rest of the guys attack him and tell him he shouldn't say that. And they really punch him up. Not only, it's about 4 more guys did. One black guy was in it too. And all of them punch him up, and they reported to the boss, and they warned him off it. That was one.
Wow, so you had white people fighting for your cause back then.
And that make a big change too.
That is very you were surrounded by some very forward thinking people.
Yeah.
In that time, that wouldn't happen often.
No, it wouldn't. That was, well, I wouldn't know anyway because I was new to the country. But after going on throughout my days, those things wouldn't happen. Hardly happened that time.
Yeah. So you witnessed something that was very rare.
The biggest one though.
Yeah.
I was in Lewisham, and I was living at a house where we rented, and I wanted another house just before my children come up.
Right.
I wanted another house to live, and the bottom of my road, there there was a house there, and they used to have those things for rent.
Yeah.
Signs. So I went down on Hawks. I knocked the door on Hawks, the lady.
Can I, if I wanted to rent this flat, how much?
Rent it. Says, oh, I'm sorry, it's already rented. So I get back. I know that was really fishy. And I said to myself, why didn't they take off the notice? So I've got an Australian friend who used to work at the House of Commons as a journalist, and a very, very friend of mine. And he come back, and when I told him, he said, let me go down and try it. He's white.
Yeah.
And he said, let me go down and try it. And he go down and try and asked the woman if he could rent the house. And he said, yes, you can have it. And it's just about 20 or 30 minutes after she told me that was the racist thing. That's the only racist thing I have. I have a few little more, but I step over.
Those were your main experiences. It feels like you've been very lucky, and maybe you have guardian angels that have been guiding you through and helping you with your experiences, because those that you mentioned there, you've had people on your side, which is fantastic.
And then it was racist in London and Lewisham, and then there's a group form a group which they employ me to recruit people to, because those days you didn't have any black people in the council, or councillors, or nothing whatsoever. And we decided that we're going to start up something. So we get some money. We get money from the government, and then they employ me to recruit people to get them learn to operate on the government, with the government, like councillors or whatever.
Wow! So you were sort of one of the first people to start sort of a positive affirmation that getting black people into jobs in higher places.
That's the first place in England that ever happened, and it started there, and we got them. They write a book, and it's only a few years ago I see it that they've mentioned my name in it too, anyway, about the organization and what started. And from then after these people go to the course, after I recruit them and they go to the course, they go in the course and come up back. We went to the council and asked them to give them jobs, and some of them get jobs, and it escalates from there. But we keep it there, and it helps.
What I want to know is, after those experiences that you spoke about, how did you talk to your children about race and the things that they might experience growing up in this country? How did you speak to Sophia? How did you speak to your other children about the same thing?
Well, we never sort of discuss it, sort of get together and discuss it.
No, okay.
We just talk about little racism thing and all that, not in big stages, because we're so sort of concentrating and let them grow up to our profession and all that sort of things. Those days, if you let it dwell on you, then you get nowhere. So, but I concentrate on my children quite a lot. I believe in them, and especially Sophia and Naomi, and I mean everyone really. But they were the one that stood two sides of me. And right now, one living in Bristol, one living in Devon, and I'm living in the middle in Somerset. So one is that side and one is that side. So when we can meet in the middle, or I go there and go there. So I mean, I concentrate. We have they help me pull through my cancer. I don't care if the rest of children think anyway why I'm saying this, but they are the two that helped me to fight my my double cancer, and they are the why I'm here.
We are so happy to have Tonka as our sponsor this series. Basic Fun's Tonka collection is packed full of fun vehicles for kids who want to get out and get tough with their toys. So dads, you've got no excuse. Grab that mighty steel classic truck. It's time to head to the sandpit for some tough play. You've brought it up, so let's talk about it. You had cancer. When were you first diagnosed with cancer? Was it 1985?
1985, I was diagnosed. I have symptoms. Then I was working with the youth service, counseling young people at that time. I just had a job in Camden. And then I got the symptoms. So I go to my doctor and they diagnosed me. The doctor didn't say cancer. So I went to the hospital and take a check and they diagnosed me with cancer of I have a bladder cancer.
Bladder cancer. Wow. That is not something you want to hear. What were your feelings at the time? I know treatments must have been totally different. What did they tell you? What was your prognosis?
Well, when they asked me, they asked me to come. They checked me out and find it's a bladder cancer. And the consultant said, you got two choices. Either you take your bladder out and put a bag in it, and perhaps later in life, you can get a bag to put in your side again. Or they give me a radiation treatment. And in the 60s, if you talk about radiation, God help you, because people think it's the worst thing in the world. But I just said I didn't particularly want any, and I made the decision myself. I didn't want any particularly want a bug my putting me, so I took up for the radiation treatment, and that started with guys in 6 days a week, no, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, for 6 weeks. It was meant to be for 6 weeks. In 5 weeks after, they said they're going to check me, scan, do everything. Then they find out I have a bladder cancer. I mean, prostate cancer. So I've got both, bladder and prostate cancer. And then they said, Mr. Hurst, I don't think you will make it. In that term, something like that. He said it's a very, 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 it's very, very dangerous.
So you found out in 1985, first that you had bladder cancer. That moved on, and you also had prostate cancer. So you've got it in two areas of your body. And this is at a time when radiotherapy was very, very new and very, very, people didn't know a lot about it. How dangerous is radiation?
Yeah.
You've opted for it because you didn't want to have the bag. And they've given you how long to live? 5 years to live, did they say?
Well, actually, they didn't give. I go through 20 years of journey, because after I get the, they said they're going to take me off the
radiotherapy,
and in the 5 weeks, and put me on in 5.5 weeks, and put me on some tablets. Right. And they wanted some hormone tablets.
Yeah.
And they decided, no, I'm talking about things because I want to talk about them, because it's no secret for me. Then they said they would give me the hormone tablet, but they'll have to give me radiation treatment in both of my breasts. So they give me a radiation treatment 1 day in my right, 1 day in the left.
Yeah.
Rest of the week. Because they have to give you in your breast, because if you take any hormone tablet that they're going to give you for the prostate cancer thing, then it would make your breast swell up.
No, it is, and so even today, because I know a little bit about it, because my dad had prostate cancer and had treatment only earlier this year. He had radiotherapy for 6 weeks.
Yes, that's. Mm.
And he's on the hormones as well, and that's one of the side effects that can happen.
That's right. So I was lucky, but it's about nearly 20 years after or something like that. I can't remember, but I used to take every year. I don't think it might be less than that. Every month, every 2 months, every 3 months, till it come up to every year.
Yeah.
They test me, right? And that's the reason why I moved out from London to Somerset anyway, because I decided I work with the Education Authority as a youth worker, counseling young people. So I moved out to Somerset, and when I went, when the consultant, but I still go to Taunton to get tests every 6 months or every year, and the consultant said he'd like to see me one day close to me where they got a small hospital, and he looked in the paper and said, "You're very lucky, because the consultant, they said they give you 1 year and 5 years to live. So I should have died 1990. So when I tell Sophie, she laughed and said, I think she said that she didn't know, because the consultant said, put it this way, Mrs. Hurst, he's not going to live to see his children grow up. You see.
But here you are, 35 years later.
It mentally hit you. I didn't put it out to them, but it mentally hit me, because I didn't know whether I'm going to die, whether I'm going to live, and I talk about it and laugh just as I'm talking. No, I never thought about it. But when I get back home, sometimes I go in my room and I cry.
That is a male thing that goes on a lot. And yeah, the mental strain, the mental stress, and men don't talk about it, which is why it is so important to have someone like yourself here on this podcast talking about what you've gone through as a man, as a father, and showing the vulnerable side of things.
Yeah.
It's so important what you're doing, and that's why I'm so happy to have you here talking about it, and that you're so open to talk about it, because I think that if people see people like yourselves who've been through it, if they hear the stories as well, they'll be more likely to open up about it, and when they're more likely to open up and talk about it, they're more likely to be able to get help.
I think so. And one other thing again, when I asked the doctor, because sometimes I come from work, I used to work at Camden, and sometimes I stop down the pub and have a drink, and I asked the doctor if I can have a drink still. He said, go on and do all the things you used to do, because I only have 5 years to live. And I talk about it with the guys, and I talk about it just, I've never, apart from when I go and I sit and I said, I don't want to leave the children, because those 2 girls, they're one side of me, they keep me going, they keep me alive. I said, I don't want to leave them, I want to stay here and knock them through their life.
That's a beautiful thing, an absolutely beautiful thing.
But it mentally hurt you if you don't talk about it. It mentally hurt. When I talk about it with my friends coming up out through those years, it made me feel better, because I let it out. But when I don't get the chance to talk about it, I feel really, it's heavy.
Yeah, it weighs on you very heavily. When did you become so wise about mental health? Because there's a lot of men who don't realize that they're going through mental problems, don't talk about it. Why were you so open to it? Why did you realize? Is that just the way you are?
Well, it might be, and that might be. And what sort of pushed me out more is that, and her, Sophie's, and this home thing, but it's called
Your daughter's work.
mental health that mental
Yeah,
health.
mendable.
And when I put myself on it, and when I listen to people talk about all these things, what happened to them and what they gone through and all that, that even put more strength. You see, I'm not going to say that's what keep me going, because I was going for 30 odd years, but I look into it and that helps more too. When I said, oh, so that's a really good thing I was talking about mine and didn't keep it. You see, and that's helped me.
It's a really good thing that you've talked about
Yeah.
it and didn't keep it. And you've mentioned Sophia, and we're definitely going to speak to her soon, and we're going to get her to come up soon. But before we do, I'd like to touch quickly upon another part of your life, and I want to know if one part has influenced another. So you've said and you've shown how open you are about your mental health and talking about it. You also mentioned that you were a youth worker. Now, that is about helping people. Is there a connection there? Tell us a bit about your youth work.
Well, when I was working with Shell Company in running the petrol station, and there was a man from North London, work with the Education Authority, want a place to open my youth club. And because I was sort of around with people so much someone sent him to me and asked me to find out if I can get one. So I went to the vicar down the bottom. I'm not a religious man, but I went to the vicar, I know them, and I talked to him, and they give him a place that the Education Authority rent, and they open the youth place, Louis Shamway Center, they call it.
Yeah.
And I go there and help them sometime while I was working with Shell. And then I went I decided to take up the youth working thing. And then I go to the college and learn the youth work and get my papers and thing. And then I come out and get a job in Camden and work at the youth service. That's where, when I start the job, that's where I get I find out get my symptom for the cancer. So and then I take it up and I work with it. And then I leave when I've got my cancer and moved to Somerset. Someone from London know me and just come and ask me if I can do some volunteer work with the volunteer service with the Somerset Council. And I do it, and I start working with young people down here voluntary.
You worked with young people both in London and in Somerset, so you must have heard and seen lots of things. I want to ask two questions. One, did you help any young fathers?
Yes. Yes, I talk to them. I tell you now, even now, I'm doing that. Even though I have someone not yesterday, a couple of days, I got someone in here. I don't want to put this on, but I have someone in here that comes.
Yeah, no, you don't have to mention any names. Don't do that.
The child and with problem, and I just talk to them as friend. I'm not saying doing as a counseling or anything. I talk to them as friend, and because that one I know his father well, and mom, and I talk to them as friend.
It's so beautiful, and so you're a very giving person, and that is something you don't. Well, hopefully we'll see it more and more these days. But it's something that you haven't seen a lot in the past.
Mm-mm. And the thing is, I'm going to say something. It might sound strange to you.
No, go for it.
I don't do anything for anyone without getting pay. And my pay is not money. It's the satisfaction I get to know that I did it. You see, that's my pay. If I do something for you, I get the satisfaction, and it even makes me sleep better because I said I did this nice thing. Don't want your money. If you give me the money, I won't take it. But I want to get the satisfaction because I've been there. I've been to so many dangerous places in my life. I mean, dangerous myself, mentally, physically, everything. And if I can help someone, I will.
You you are quintessentially what we want on this planet, Amos. You've got me in tears here. Um, yes, and yes. I'm lost for words, but you've got me lost for words here. Um, it's beautiful what you just said, and I hope people hearing this podcast and listening can resonate with what you said, because what you said is so true. It's not about the money. It's not about that kind of payment. It's about the payment of giving back to other people, of helping each other, educating each other. And you've already helped, I'm sure, hundreds and hundreds of people in your time as a youth worker, in your time doing all sorts. People are going to watch this, hopefully, listen to this, and you're going to help more people. You're also helping people with your daughter, Sophia. I think this might be a good time to bring her into the conversation.
Yeah,
the
one other thing I said, people said that I wake up in the morning, and every morning I wake up in the morning, I'm happy. I'm smiling and happy. And people, they used to tell me off. Everyone tell me off, so how could you wake up in the morning and happy? I said, yes, I'm seeing another day, and I'm enjoying it. I go through all these things. It's lots of things, and I haven't got no plans to go anywhere. I want to stay and have my children straight off.
You're not going anywhere yet.
I'm happy where I live, because if you come into my area and ask anyone who live here about Amos, they will say they know me, because I don't make problem with anyone, because when someone try to mess about, which I don't have it, not very rarely, they got the problem. I haven't got the problem. They've got the problem, so they want to sort it out. I don't have to sort out anything for myself. And many things I do to keep me going anyway.
That's very good, Amos. It's so good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring your daughter in, who's been listening away intently, who's helped you set up all the tech and the things we've needed to make this this podcast happen. So hopefully Sophia will come up now. Thank you,
Hi.
Sophia, for being here. Thank you for organising this and getting your dad to be here on this podcast. He's had me in tears here. What an amazing dad.
Yeah. Do you know, I was listening, and I'm laughing away at things, you know, and it's the poison look thing had me, I was creased. because if there's one thing I know, me and my sister have ignored the poison look the entire time.
You ignored the poison look.
We ignored the poison look. He's been throwing, I gave him the poison look for years, and I'm thinking, no, we didn't. We ignored that.
You ignored the poison look.
What it really was I saw the size of his hands and thought, I'd never want that to smack me. He's got ginormous hands. That was enough.
Maybe you were playing the daddy's little girl and knowing, okay, daddy's not going to smack me. I'm his favourite little girl. And maybe one of your brothers would have been a little bit different. Who knows? Right.
Yeah, it's just interesting, the point you were saying about how dad parented us. And he was great. It's funny because my some of the family saw different types of parenting. You know, the smacking a child was absolutely the norm. And I used to sort of say to dad, I'm so upset about this. I'm so upset at seeing this. And he'd be like, you know, he was always very good with reasoning with us and helping us to understand from other points of views as well. And I think, like, it's one of the things I recognize very much in myself, that I don't necessarily agree with things, but I can have a good understanding from both sides, which is, I think, a really important thing. So, I mean, when
you can see things from both sides, you have the empathy with both sides, so you can kind of you have that view to be able to. It leaves
you with less anger inside about some things, you know. So definitely. I think we were parented very well.
Amos, Sophia was just saying that the poison look didn't work.
It works for me. Well, it doesn't work for her, but it worked for me because she stopped what she stopped what she was doing if anything's wrong. It works.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Let's touch upon the parenting that we were talking about. We were talking about the race side of things, Sophia, and how did you see your dad bringing you up in a certain way with that confidence to know, you know, you are worth something. You have to fight for what you believe, and what did you see?
So, because yeah, I was thinking about that when you guys were talking, and Dad's right. We didn't sort of sit down and have in-depth conversations about race, or anything like that. Really, it was always just when it was the appropriate time, and I think that was really good, and it worked really well for me personally because we were shown by example. We knew the work that both our parents had done. You know, we didn't talk about how my mum and dad met, but it was through the same passion and desire to help other people, particularly with the BAME group in London, and being an advocate for them. So we knew what our parents had done. Our parents were very into political things, as in supporting what they thought was right. They would always fight for justice. They led by example. I think that's why certainly I am the way I am, is because of my parents. And listening to Dad talk, even though I've heard it at different stages in life, like it just reminds me in one go, this is why I do what I do. This is why I am the person I am.
You have a dad who is nothing but giving, all giving. So to grow up around that, now you've become someone who gives.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even when I look at how my dad, you know, the George Floyd situation, and I was able to call him and have a good, reasonable conversation with him, we've very much been brought up that education is key, that fighting for what's right is important, but the approach and how you do that is essential, because that's when the results are, the outcomes are often better. And I've, you know, I obviously I'm my own person as well. I know that, you know, my own life experiences have led me to where I am as well. But the most important thing was that foundation from my parents was there.
Yeah, it's
Those
amazing.
core values and morals were there. Yeah.
So before we wrap things up and talk about some other things, you both are doing a lot of work at the moment, and the place I met you was on Clubhouse. You're doing a lot of work for dads and fathers at the moment, aren't you? And just men in general. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I came to the Clubhouse app, which I was reluctant to come to for such a long time, but when I finally said, yeah, I'll go on there, and obviously knowing that I had the success with music beforehand, it was like the natural thing would to be get involved with that side of things, you know, the music stuff, and did some music rooms and things. And I was thinking, actually, I don't really feel fulfilled, and it's not in an ungrateful way, but I just felt like there's so much more I could be doing with my platform to what I really care about and what's important for me. And you know, I don't make it a secret, I don't go into great depths often, but you know, my relationships with men haven't always been positive, and I've had quite a difficult time with it. But one of the things that I've been able to do, again from my core values and such that I've been raised with, is to look back and reflect on, you know, not just my behaviors in it, but just that actually those people actually probably needed some help. They needed an opportunity to be able to talk about how they were feeling, and I never really gave it. Right. You know, and a lot of women don't. And so that creating the space for men was really important for me, to allow people like my dad or my family members that might not have been able to speak about things, but will always seem to be a certain way, but that wasn't really how they were. It was just how they were expressing what the turmoil that they were feeling. Yeah. And then, yeah, it's just kind of growing from there. So that group on a Monday and Thursday will continue to run. And I say it all the time, but, you know, I was absolutely exhausted at one point because, you know, developing the Mendable app as well in the background, and then doing my nursing and everything else that I'm doing, and being a mum, and all of that stuff. I was really tired, but I remember speaking to Dad, who is it should probably be my first resort, sometimes ends up being my last, because I don't, for me, because I know how he loves us, he would be the first person to say, stop and look after yourself. But with this, he was very much, this is really, really important. So, you can't stop. And I'm so glad he said that, because from where it's taken off from there, I was getting quite a lot of pressure from family and friends that weren't speaking to me as often as they had before, obviously with the pandemic as well, we had a bit more time to speak to our friends, and I wasn't able to really express the work that I was doing because I was so busy with it. I didn't have the time to explain. So my best explanation to my dad was, come and join in the group, come and be a part of this, come and see what your daughter's doing, and see whether you think it's valuable. And then he did, and he hasn't not been there once. He's there every time we open the room,
Guys, thank you so much for coming along and talking and spreading the word. Sophia, do you want to let people know where they might be able to find all the stuff you're doing?
Yes, yeah, please. So the clubhouse rooms are on a Monday and Thursday, and that's at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Pacific, and 8 p.m. UK time. So that's every Monday and Thursday, and we are there without fail every Monday and Thursday.
And what's the name of the group they're looking for as well?
It's the Men and Mental Health Room. So you can actually go to www.mendable.app, and you can see the clubhouse link to the Mental Health Awareness Club. And we are always happy to collaborate with people. We're completely up for that. We've got the forum now on the website as well, so you can get involved in that. We've got the TV channel. We're doing lots of Instagram lives, and they're being put onto the website. There's so much going on, and I can't wait for the app to be launched when it does. It's taking time, but we want to get it right. So yeah, it's very exciting, and come and be a part of it. Yeah.
We'll put some links up on our webpage as well, where this podcast episode will be. So check out the webpage for that as well, guys. It'll all be there listed. Thank you so much, Sophia, and massive thank you to you, Amos. Have a lovely day.
Thank you too, because you let me let out some of the things, because Lord's dear, you let me let out some of the things, and it made me feel happier when I talk about it. So thanks very much, and talking to you.
Yeah, and
Amos, when I'm coming through hold on, when I'm coming through Somerset, I want to stop by, Amos. And you mentioned that when you had the cancer, you could go and drink anything you wanted to drink. What's your drink of pleasure? What's your choice?
My choice.
Is it Guinness? Is it what is it?
Ray and Nephew's rum.
Ray and Nephew's rum.
Okay, we're having a rum together.
And lager shandy.
I love a lager shandy too.
Yeah, it has to show you his humongous allotment that you would never think an 85-year-old man could look after the way that he does, because it's huge. I can't even tell you. Yeah. I just started growing some plants. I just started doing some veg. Amos, we need to talk.
Yes, whenever you want.
Okay, but there is one thing that I do say, which happens in the group a lot. This is my dad, all right? You lot need to remember this, Mike. But no, to be honest, I just wanted to say, Nigel, that you coming in the room, I believe it was a great thing, and we talked after, and I appreciate you, because I often see you there listening as well. So it just shows your actual, real, authentic dedication to this, and I just wanted to thank you for inviting us as well.
Oh no, it's absolutely. I'm here. I enjoy it. I enjoy people speaking to people like yourselves, seeing other people who are living it, and like Amos, I get back from it. It's not monetary. I'm not doing this for money. This is
that's what makes it special.
The growth of everyone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, it was really great pleasure in talking to you today. Definitely, I've really enjoyed.
Thank you.
Yes, and you have a great
day. I enjoyed it too.
Yes.
Take care,
Dad.
folks.
Thanks, Dad.
What an amazing man. What an amazing father. So lucky to have him here on the podcast. He's seen a lot and experienced a lot in his 85 years, and for him to share some of that with us was a privilege. And great to see his daughter as well, one of his lovely children. Just testament to how much of a good dad he is. So there you have it, another fantastic episode. Thank you so much for listening, and if you have time, leave us a review. We'd love to hear what you thought of this episode or of the series as a whole. And don't forget, you can subscribe or follow using your preferred podcast platform to be first to hear the episodes. If you'd like to find out more about Dadvengers, head to dadvengers.com, where you can find out more information about our live chats, about our meetups, quizzes, blog posts, and more. This has been the Dadvengers podcast, sponsored by Tonka, because being tough is all about getting out, playing.